All right. All right. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you are watching us from. So yesterday we ended at day three. We are welcome to day three of our business analyst and product owner and project management training. Yesterday we ended with the techniques that we use for um, eliciting requirement. Today we're going to continue, and today we're starting with stakeholders. This morning we're starting with stakeholders. Now, as a business analyst and or a product owner, stakeholders are folks or the people that you're going to be dealing with a lot, right? You're going to be working with stakeholders a lot. So when we say stakeholders, who and who constitute or who will be referred to as a stakeholder. So stakeholders are those with interest in your project outcome, right? They are typically the members of the project team, the project managers, the executives, the project sponsors, customers, and users. In a project, there are both internal and external stakeholders. Internal stakeholders may include top management, project team members, your manager, peers, resource managers, and internal customers. And then the external stakeholders may include external customers, government, contractors, subcontractors, and other suppliers, or maybe vendors, right? So when you take a look at the project, especially with your role, when you start a gig, you are a project coordinator, or a project lead, or a project manager, or you're a product owner, you're a business system analyst. You're going to be dealing with stakeholders a lot. So typically, you will have different subject matter experts. Let's say you guys are building a feature. You guys are building an application on maybe a bill payment, or maybe money transfer, or maybe something, some mortgage feature, or maybe some loan underwriting or loan origination platform, or consumer lending platform, and whatnot. It could be anything. It could be any platform that you guys are building, right? Now, when you guys start this project and you are the BA or the business analyst or the product owner, you have a duty, you have a responsibility to liaise with these stakeholders in this department. So you will collaborate, right? You will collaborate with these stakeholders who are subject matter or who might be senior managers or something like that in this department or unit within the organization. So sometimes, you may just have a product manager, and you have a product manager. The product manager will share the vision, the roadmap of what he or she intends to build. And then, you might also liaise with other stakeholders to even brainstorm and, seek, clarification, right? Yes, great. We want to build money transfer, but, who and who, and, what can we do and what can we not do? What do you require? If somebody wants to send money, so you guys will, you will elicit requirements from different stakeholders. So when you take a look at any project, that stakeholders, very key people that you need to know. As a matter of fact, when you start any project, let me share this. We have something we call the 30, 60, 90 days rule, right? Anywhere that you go, they might, expect that from you, or you should have that expectation of yourself, right? So when you start any project, whether you're a software engineer, whether you're a QA or software test engineer, whether you are a project manager, whether you are a BA, a product owner, you should have this goal. We call it 30, 60, 90 days rule. In your first 30 days, right, all that you want to do is to be able to know the environment. When I say know the environment, get to know the organization, get to know the stakeholders, those that you're going to be working with. How does their work, how does their function impact on what you do? You got to be able to understand everybody and their role, their title. So you got to know your stakeholders, right? You need to know them. You have to know your product, your the kind of product that you guys are building. So when you start any project, the first 30 days, these are the things that you need to know. And then listen, you'll be getting on a lot of meetings. They'll be inviting you a lot of meetings. Your first 30 days, you go in, you just be taking notes, right? Whatever that they say, you got to take notes. Whatever who is talking about, you got to take note, right? It is very, very, very important. Very, very important. Um, so first 30 days, get to know your stakeholders, get to know your product, get to know your environment, the tools, applications that you guys are using in that environment. In the first 30 days too, there's going to be a lot of access, right? They'll be granting you a lot of access. Because you are new, somebody got to work on a database access for you. Somebody got to work on maybe QA environment or UAT staging environment access for you. Somebody got to work on maybe any kind of environment that they have over there when it comes to the building and deployment of application. So you will learn a lot in your 30 days. In your 60th day, right? By the time your 60th day come around, 60 days come around, the expectation is that you will start making contribution, right? You start making contribution to the team. You start writing, some stories. You start gathering, requirement, putting business requirement documentation together. You start doing, stuff like that on your 60th day. And then by the 90th day, you're almost like an SME or SME. That's what we call it. I want to say SME, what we mean is subject matter expert. So that means you can demo product to whether internal customers or external customers. You're making a huge contribution, or you're contributing, like giving feedback, giving input, re-architecting processes, contributing to your product vision and your product roadmap. So by the 90th day, you are fully immersed into the product, into the environment, into the team. You know everybody, every stakeholder within the organization, right? So the 30, 60, 90 days rule. This is something you should have at the back of your mind somewhere, right? Write it down somewhere. 30, 60 days, 90 days rule. Sometimes when you start a job, right? Sometimes when you start a job, nobody's going to tell you this, but you have to know that your managers, they have this expectation of you, right? In your 30 days, they're expecting something. They are watching you. They're keeping an eye on you. In your 60th day, that is your second month over there at the workplace, they're watching you, right? So that's the expectation. And then your 90th day, this is what they want you to become. After the 90th day, you become a SME, or a subject matter expert, SME, right? So in every project, you got to know these people. Typically your project managers, your product managers, different senior managers within the organization. It could be core banking operation manager. You have to know these people, because your role or your responsibility is to sit in the middle somewhere, where you serve as a bridge between the stakeholders and the core development team or the core technology team. So from where you sit as a PO or a product owner or a business system analyst, you enable requirement consensus, right? You enable requirement consensus. What does that mean? That means that, when the team needs clarity, if, they need something to be explained to them about a product, about a feature, it is you. You are the single point of contact. You are the primary point of truth when it comes to clarity with requirement, when it comes to clarity with product feature sets, right? If they don't understand anything, if they need further explanation, they need something to be clarified, it is you that they rely on. And then when we start talking about Agile, we know that there are some ceremonies that you participate, like the daily stand-up meeting or the daily Scrum meeting. It's a daily 15 minutes 15 minutes type of meeting by the team, but you're going to be on that call. You're going to be on that meeting. Sometimes on that meeting, even though it is January for statuses update, but sometimes they might come up with questions, which will be like a parking lot item, right? And when that happens, you as the PO or the business analyst on the call, you need to be able to explain to them what that means. You need to be able to explain to them that, oh, this feature that you guys are talking about, this is our original intent. So when the team, they lose track and they begin to take on a different path, it is your duty to align them back. It is your duty to bring them back when they take a departure from the original product vision or the product roadmap, right? So you have a duty to align them. So, when you're a PO, a product owner, or a business system analyst, one of your tasks is to make sure that, especially with your team, whether it's developers or it's QA, you ensure that development work really aligns with design and requirement. Now, this is very important, right? So stakeholders, you got to know them. Project managers, executive, project sponsors, customers, and users, you got to know them, both internally and then externally. So there are people that you're going to be working with, and these folks are going to be your something like internal, like end client, right? When you build an application, they got to use it first. Sometimes these people that you work with, or these people that are within the company, they are the people that you guys are building this application for, because when customers call, they'll be using that platform to administer their function, right? So stakeholders, whether internal or external, you got to know these folks. You got to know your stakeholders. So like I said, 30, 60, 90 days rule. You have to know this. You have to know the expectation. You got to have some expectation by yourself, and which includes getting to know your stakeholders, right? Getting to know your stakeholders. If it's external, sometimes, maybe some of the product or the platform that you guys are using external vendors. So it could be like a SaaS-based product, a software as a service type of product. It could be a CRM type of tool, right? Customer relation management type of tool. It could be something like Salesforce. Salesforce is a CRM type of tool. It could be like maybe Microsoft, Dynamics, maybe 365, which is another type of CRM tool. It could be any third-party tool, right? And you got to know all these suppliers, all these vendors that you guys are dealing with, or you guys are working with. If it's a federal type of employment, federal type of gig, you got to know the people that you're working for, right? If you guys are consulting for a federal agency, you need to know. So stakeholders, you got to know these folks. You got to know your stakeholders. And this is very, very important. All right, moving on. Like I said, if you have questions all the time, put it in the chat box and I will grab it. I'll get to it when I have some second. So this morning, we will also continue. We're looking at the software development life cycle. So this morning, we want to also look at software development life cycle. Any platform that you see, just like this one, the one that we looked at the other day, whether it is Wells Fargo platform, bank platform, whether it's Bank of America, or any platform that you're familiar with. It could be your current job, their website or their platform or whatever. If you take a look at, there's a question here about who are the internal and external customers, right? That's a good question. So when we say internal customers, when we build an application, right? Internal customers are the folks that will use it. Let's take a look at something like a loan origination platform, okay? A loan origination platform, or a loan processing, or maybe underwriting platform. As a company, we package money and we give money to people who wants to, let's say we are a financial institution, we're a bank, just for the purpose of this scenario. Let's say we are a bank, our name is Bank ABC Limited, right? That is our name, or Bank ABC PLC, that's our name. We are in the business of lending. We give people money to buy cars, to buy homes, to buy whatever. When we build an application, internal customers and external customers, internal customers are the folks, administrators, people that are within the company, that uses our platform, the platform that we are building, to administer a certain role or function. So let's say I'm a loan underwriter. If I'm a loan underwriter, that means when somebody wants money to go and buy a home, they want money. They want the bank to give them the money. The home might cost maybe $400,000 or $500,000, right? If the home costs this much. The loan underwriter, in the mortgage industry, there's a process. There will be about maybe 1 or 2, 3 process that will lead up to maybe the stage of the underwriter. It could be the loan processor too, which will come first. So the underwriter will underwrite the loan. That means the person have the ability to deny or approve you of the loan based on information that he or she will receive about you. Your income, your tax information, your proof of maybe citizenship, your driver's license, your tax returns, documentation. This person will analyze all of these things. The person will look at the area that you say you want to buy the house, right? You say, okay, you live in this zip code, this subdivision. But truly, this person will analyze carefully and check and see that's truly is it true that homes in this subdivision they cost $500,000? So they look at your zip code. They will also appraise that property and ensure that, oh, is it really worth? Is this house really or this home really worth $500,000? When they appraise the property and everything looks good, then this person will approve you of this loan, right? And then you'll move on to the next phase. But this person that is with the company that administers this function, the tool that we are building, they have a different phase, a different front end, that where they log in and then they do all this work that I'm talking about, checking of tax returns, checking of your income, your proof of employment, proof of, citizenships and other things. There is a front end to it. There's a place where this internal customer, will use the application to perform his or her role, right? So that is the internal customer. That is what they use. They use it to administer a lot of things, right? Within the company. Take a look at an example of, when you go to the bank, we have tellers, right? Well, let's say when you go to the bank, we have tellers. When you go over there, you say you want to make a deposit, right? You want to make a withdrawal. If you want to make a withdrawal, you want to make a deposit, what do? They allow you, or they ask you to key in some data, right? It could be your bank account number, it could be your social security number. Depending on your bank, these days there are so many emerging technology. People don't really have to fill a deposit form or maybe a withdrawal form or something like that. Sometimes when I go to Bank of America, I just swipe my Visa debit card, and that's it. My data will pull up on his or her screen as a teller, and then you begin to administer his function. Now, in the administration of his function, he's interfacing with the platform or an application. So the teller, even though we are building the tool for them, he's an internal customer of the application, right? Now, when you are at home and you want to check your balance, right? And then you go on to bankofamerica.com, suntrustbank.com, whateverbank.com, and then you see the login feature, and then as a matter of fact, let me go to the login feature, right? So like Wells Fargo Bank, this is customer facing portal. This is where everybody goes, customers go to. Now, when you type in the username, as you can see on the left side over here on your screen, the username, the password, and then you click on the sign on. Now, immediately you do this, and then the application lets you in. Now you see your bank account balance. Maybe you have $5,000, you have $2,000 in your balance, and there are other functions and other things. Anything that you do, you are an external customer, right? You are an external customer. So when we build solutions as in the IT department of the company, there are internal users of the platform that we have built, and there are external users of the platform again. Is this clear enough? I hope this explanation settles it for you. Okay, all right, moving on. Okay, great. Okay, great. Right. So every platform that you see, there are users that are internal customers, and then there are external customers, folks that will log in from the outside, that will use it. Whether they want to apply for a loan or something, they start or they initiate the application from their homes. That is the customer facing side or the customer facing portal. So that is the external customers. All right. So today we also talking about software development lifecycle. So every platform that you see, just like what we are talking about, Wells Fargo Bank, right? Every platform that you see, it starts with what we call the software development life cycle. Um, Now today we see all these things great, on our screen. I see personal banking. I see the bank name at the top left corner, Wells Fargo Bank. And beneath that, I see personal. I see small business, commercial. I see financial education, and about Wells Fargo Bank. I see all these things, a header menu, different things moving on here. I see a middle section. I see a login feature over here where people can log in or customers can log in and access their account. I see so many other buttons and so many other features that are on this platform. Everything that you see here, it starts with SDLC, the SDLC. So the SDLC is just an acronym, short form for the Software Development Life Cycle. So there are phases in this software development life cycle, and this is what we want to look at. So whether it is a small project, a big project, a complex one, a simple one, it all started with an SDLC. The SDLC is what? What are we talking about? So the SDLC is the software development lifecycle. When we want to build an application, the first phase, the second stage, third stage, it goes on like that, right? There are different methodologies, different models that are very popular. But for this session's purpose, we will just consider only two. We will look at Waterfall and then we'll look at Agile. But over here on this screen that you're seeing, you're looking at SDLC also over here, Software Testing Lifecycle. It is also part of the SDLC anyway. But I want to talk about, the methodology, right? I want to talk about two methodology here. So Waterfall. So traditionally, if you want to build a platform, what is Waterfall model doing here? So Waterfall model, it is the idea of how it rains. You see, when it rains, what does it do? The rain drops from the skies and then it comes all the way down to the ground, right? That is the idea, waterfall. So it is like what? It's like a top approach and it come all the way down, the rain comes all the way down to the ground and then that's it, right? There are other things that can also go up from the ground. If it's evaporation, right? Those that you remember your science, right? But waterfall, that is the idea, from the top and then to the bottom, right? That is what we call waterfall. So waterfall, what is it? So waterfall model is a sequential model divided into different phases of the software development activity, right? Each stage is designed for performing the specific activity. So when you take a look at the waterfall or the typical traditional product, delivery model that we've used, we've used waterfall for a very long time. These days, everybody's going agile, and we'll spend much time on agile. So typically, let's say, who should I use? So let's say Bernice, you're on this call. You want to build a platform, or let me use a church. Let's say ABC Church wants to build a platform, right? It's great. They talk to us. We are a technology company, or within the church has set up an IT department, to build, this, online presence for the church, right? ABC Church. So the pastor and then the team executive, they gather us together and say, okay, guys, we want you to build an online website, we'll build a platform for us so that, we can have an online presence. These days, everything is virtual, and we also need a great platform, so that we can reach out to more people by preaching, the gospel, right? So typically we'll start with that. Now, this is great, but when we are the IT team, we will not just accept that and then just walk away. No, we will just tell the pastor and his executive, okay, fine, you guys want to build a platform, a website, but what are we building? What exactly is going to be on the platform, right? What will we display? What are some of the features? So some of the things that we will put on there, right? We'll put on the platform. So we begin to ask them questions. And this action of question phase, we'll be getting into it momentarily. It's what we call requirement gathering, right? So the pastor and the executive and his elders leadership, they begin to tell us, okay, on the platform, we will just build a website. Maybe maybe in the future we might maybe build a mobile app as well, maybe Android and iOS and other things like that, right? But on the platform, we want to have header menu. We want to have a home. We want to also have another header menu that will say what we do, right? So when you go to a typical church platform or something, you see even other businesses, it will come with the same type of description, what we do, who we are, donate, and donate, you can pay your tithe and offering and that things like that. You might see ministries. So if you are a visitor to the site, and you see men's ministry, women's wing, children, whatever, you see their room, there are pictures over there. There's like a gallery. You can watch all the videos of their sermons. There's a media session where you go to the media session, you get to see previously preached sermons by audio, by video. You can even watch live service. If it's a Wednesday Bible studies, Friday evening service, Sunday morning service, whatever, is all live. So this leadership is going to be telling us all this thing, that they want their service to be live. They want previously preached sermons also to be on the platform so that people can preach. They want a feature, right? They want a feature on ABC Church platform that will be for prayer requests. So if somebody is in need of prayer, they can come on the platform and they'll put in their name, first name, last name, their city, location, phone number, and then there's going to be a text field for message where they can type in what is wrong with them, right? What do they need the prayer for? So, and after that, there's going to be a submit button. So the leadership, they might not communicate it just like I'm saying, but they're just going to give us an idea. Oh, it would be nice for us to have this. It would be nice for us to have this feature as well. It would be nice for us to have maybe videos of our sermons, whatever. So they will, they'll be giving out. They will essentially share all this information with us, right? So once they're sharing, we're taking note. Once they're sharing, we're taking note, right? They'll say, oh, people can donate. We have different projects. As a church, we embark on different projects. We have, projects in Africa where we're building water supply, we're building schools, whatever. So when people get on a platform, they see all these options. When they go to the donate section, the page will redirect them to a page where they have so many options. It can be offering, it can be your tithing, it can be different projects that we are on that you want to support. Maybe in the city of Atlanta, we have a project that we build homes for the homeless. We build shelter. It's like a shelter, project. So when people see stuff like that, they are able to contribute. They are able to donate. Because this project that you guys are working on speaks to them, it ministers to their heart, and they want to support it, right? That is fantastic. So they will typically give us all these things, information about the platform that they want to build. So let's say, everything looks good, the developers and the team, they've gathered all these things and the team is good, and then they start building. Once they start building, it goes all the way. So they will build, and then it might take them, however long it's going to take. They will share all these details with, the leadership of the church and say, this is going to take us, 3 months. It's going to take us 6 months. It's going to take us 8 months. What about platforms? Sometimes some platforms are so complex, right? Especially if you're using the waterfall model or waterfall approach. So they will build this entire platform, and then the next phase will be they will turn over this platform to QA, to the testing team as well. And the testing team will also test this entire platform, right? So every feature that has been listed, that was on the document that they want, they will also test this feature to make sure that it works. For instance, if there's supposed to be a donate button, right? There's supposed to be a donate button. So the testing team will go over there. They will click on the donate button. Does it work? Is it enabled? Is it active? So they can even report it back. For instance, if they click on the donate button and nothing happens, right? So that means that is a bug. For your information, this is what we call a defect. So you may have heard of a defect or a bug. This is a bug. So if you click on the donate button, and it's supposed to redirect you to another page, and when after clicking on it, you're still on the same page, it didn't redirect to a different page, and you're still on the same page, that is a bug. That is an issue. That's a problem. That is something that we need to report. So QAs or testing folks, they will begin to write down all these issues that they've discovered on the platform, right? So assuming that, they've tested, everything looks good, and then, they would finally deploy it, or the application will go live, right? So that is a typical waterfall approach from, eliciting the requirement, gathering the requirement from the stakeholder, building it, testing it, and then turning the entire system back to the stakeholder and say, hey, this is what you guys wanted. These are our deliverables. We are ready. We are live. Anytime you hear the word live, that means the application has been deployed. We have shipped it out and it is launched. That is what we call live. You might hear this terminology a lot at your workplace. Anytime you hear live, all that it means is that the application is now launched and customers can use it. If they added a new feature and say we are going live with this feature, that means we are deploying it, right? That is what we mean by live. So that is a typical waterfall model, right? Typical waterfall model. That is how it happens. You build out the entire system, and then testing will commence their work. They will also test the entire system, and then you turn it over to the owners of the platform. Your work is done, and then you just do like that, and then just say, okay, I'm done. That's it. And then the SDLC, the testing phase. So I talk about the testing, and all the activities that they're going to do. So it is also a cycle, software testing life cycle. It consists of series of activities carried out by testers methodologically to test your software product. So they will also have their own program that they will adhere to in the course of testing and making sure that all the features that the church wanted, it works. It is working or is functioning as expected, and there are no defects, there are no bugs, right? So like the example of the donate button, you click on it, it redirects to a page. You see different options over there that you can also click. So maybe you want to pay your tithe as a church member, you can go ahead and click on it and then go ahead, proceed, and you follow the other promptings or other instructions, and then you go ahead and pay your tithing, right? If you want to give an offering, it's over there. If you want to donate for a different project of the church, it's all over there. Everything works. If something is not working, and if you are a tester, then you report it that there's a defect here, there's a bug here, something is broken. And then the development team, they need to fix it, right? The development team has to fix it. So testing also have a life cycle. They also go through some series of activities, and then they report their work, right? That is the reason why they are there. They are there to ensure that there are no bugs, no issues on the platform. So typically, the SDLC phase, we have a couple of steps here. So we have requirement gathering, right? We have requirement gathering, we have the design, we have build and development stage, we have testing and QA stage, we have deployment or release phase, and then we have the maintenance phase, right? So this is a typical SDLC, software development lifecycle steps that you see. So when we talk about requirement gathering, design, build, and what are we talking about? You guys may have an idea. I'm going to go through each one of them. So requirement gathering stage, that is the first step. What are we doing? At this stage, we gather as much information as possible about the details and the specification of the desired software from the client. So like the example of our ABC church platform, right? Whilst talking to the church leadership, whilst they're telling us we want to have a media center where our sermons is going to be there, these are all part of what? Requirement gathering stage. They're giving you all the details, all the things, features that they want to have on their platform. We want to be able to do this. We want customers or visitors to our site, when they come on the abcchurch.com platform, they'll about us, they'll see the church history, where we started. Maybe we started from Oklahoma. Now we are in about additional 7 states. We have presence in 8 states, right? All this history is going to be over there. Who started it? Who is the founder? We'll have content. We'll have all this information on the platform. So when somebody wants to know the church and then they want to belong, they want to see all these details out there, right? So we'll have details, locations, where can you find us? If you want to be part of our service, on a Sunday morning or something, all those details about location, contact us. If you have, you want to send us a message, all those features will be on there. But those features didn't just happen overnight. It started with what? Requirement gathering stage. Requirement gathering stage. So at this stage, You know, when you're a BA or you're a PO, a product owner, you know, you liaise with your stakeholders. Stakeholders are what? The owners of the platform. They'll give you all this information. This is what we want. We want this. We want that. They will tell you all the things that they want to build. So that is a requirement. That's the first step in every application. So it doesn't matter all the great, you know, platform that you see. Requirement gathering stage is the first initial step here. The second step is what we call design stage, right? Design stage. So design stage, you know, after the leadership of ABC Church as our case study or example, they've given us all the details about what they want to build. Now it is up to us as the technology team to sit down and say, okay, now that we have all the information, now we need to design how we will build this. So we will talk through, let's use maybe C#, let's use Java, let's use maybe PHP as a programming language. Let's use this database. You know, when somebody come online and then they donate or they have prayer requests, we want all these details to be captured somewhere. Somebody want to contact us. All those data, where is it going to go to? We need a database. What kind of database client do we want to use? Do we want to use, Microsoft MS SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server? Do you want to use Oracle, right? Do you want to use MySQL? So all those determination and decision are made at this stage, right? We will have some other, maybe some data, some DBAs, database administrators on the call. They'll talk about the kind of tables that we will need, the data models that we may have to churn out over there. So we'll talk about essentially all the things that we need to do in order for us to be able to get to the finish line and say, this is the platform that the church wanted us to build. Here it is. These are our deliverables. How are we going to get there? So design phase, you talk about all of these things: infrastructure, architecture, how we need to build this, processes on the platform. If something needs to be approved by somebody, all the workflows that need to be performed, data handling logics behind the application. They'll talk about essentially everything that needs to be done, for us to have a good platform done or work on. So that is the design phase. The design phase. From the design phase, where do we go to next? We go to the build and development stage. Now that we know what programming language that we're using, now that we know what environments and what instances to deploy and shape out, now let's go ahead and start building, right? We don't have time. So this is the stage for actually development work. So now developers, the software engineers that are part of the team, they'll start coding, right? They start development work. They will start translating the requirement that has been given to us by the stakeholders or the owners of the platform. They will start translating that requirement into machine readable format, right? Programming language. They start building. And then once the development is done, development says that, oh, we are done with this. Everything now looks good. What stage are we going? Now we go to the testing stage or test stage, right? Now, our quality assurance engineers, they are also members of the team. Our software test engineers, they are also part of the team member composition. They will also commence or they will also begin their work by testing what the developers have done, right? So they will also begin to test on every feature, every functionality on the platform. They will test to make sure that it works. Everything is looking good. I have about maybe 3 sessions or 3 slides way ahead. We'll talk about testing, some of the type of testings that need to be done, some of the documentations that will be worked on. But when you are a BA or a product owner, you don't really get into testing, but it is essential that I teach you so that in case something gets thrown at you, right, and you need to test something, it will not take you by surprise and say, I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about testing. So I will walk you guys through, some testing scenario, and then you guys will essentially get it. So what happens here, they test it, they report issues, they report bugs that they will discover, they report defects that they will discover. Maybe the developers, they were rushing, donate button example. If they click on it and it's not enabled and it's not redirecting them to the donate page, and it stays right there. That's a defect. That's a bug. They need to report it. So anything that is not functioning is considered as a bug or a defect. So issues, they report all those issues, and hopefully developers will rework on it again. They will, fix those issues, and then they will bring it back to the testing engineers, and the test engineers will retest it again and make sure that, this time around the issues have been fixed and now it's good to go. So after testing phase, what is next? Deployment, release. Now that everything looks good, what do we have to do? We need to release or deploy the application to the respective environment, right? So it could be staging or UAT environment, or it could be production environment. So now we release the application and then it goes live. We deploy the application so that customers at home and our owners that actually consulted us to give us a contract to build the ABC church platform for them. Now we release it, we deploy the application. Now they can actually start using it themselves, right? And then the last phase is what we call maintenance phase, right? So once your system is ready to use, you may require to change the code later on as per customer request, but essentially now the application is in maintenance phase. So periodically, once in a while, the owners of the platform will say, well, we've seen this feature somewhere and we think it's cool for us also to have this same feature on our platform too. So the application might be in maintenance mode. They're already using it. It's already live now, but they want a new feature. So new feature, so we go ahead and take a look at the feature, and then we give them an estimate and whatever, and then we start building it. We start adding that new feature to the platform. So once it's in maintenance phase, we'll be adding on. So like the Wells Fargo Bank, platform that I just showed you guys, they keep adding new features, new functionalities periodically, all the time, right? So tomorrow you might go over there, you might see something else, and then the next day you visit again, and then you see a new feature. So they are adding new features on the platform all the time. All right. Now let me talk about something that is also very important into what the subject that we are talking about: team environment, right? So when you start working with any organization, there is going to be environments. Typically, what we call environment, they are just portals. There are different portals that you will visit, different URLs that you visit. So every great company, they will have about these 4 instances, these 4 team environments. They will have a development environment, they will have test environment, they will have staging or UAT environment, and they will have production environment. Now, this is the standard. They may choose to have more. It doesn't matter. But usually these 4 environments are the standard, right? So what are these environments? As you can see, there's one in red. So the one in red says what? Production environment. This is where customers go to. So if you look at it over here, it says, the URL says www.bankofamerica.com. This is the production environment. When somebody wants to, like the example of the external customer, when somebody wants to log in and check their account balance, right? This is where they will go to, the production environment. But before getting to the production environment, before all those features that the customer wants to log in and other things, became or was deployed live, it started from somewhere. It started from the top. So it started from the development environment. So when the requirement is given and the team start development work, the developers, they have their own separate environment, which they call dev. You might be hearing dev. We have dev environment. They might not necessarily say development environment. They might say dev. They might have that, short form and say dev. You might hear dev at your workplace or whatever. But know that this is where they're referring to. They're referring to the development environment. Now, the development environment, for this example, I just called the URL www.bankofamerica-dev.com. Now, this is an environment, or these environments over here, these are environments that are just known to the team members only. Nobody else can access this environment. Now, I just called it bankofamerica-dev.com, but it could be anything. It could be A, B, C, D, and some weird numbers, something.com. But that is the development environment known to the team members only and nobody else, right? And nobody else. It's just known to the team members only and nobody else, right? And as a matter of fact, sometimes before even you can access this environment, you got to be on the organization's VPN. We will talk about VPN in the future. VPN is just virtual private network, right? So unless you're able to sign into the VPN, you cannot access this URL that is known to the development team only. So when the developers, they start coding, they start development work of the requirement that has been given to them, they need to be able to see what they are coding, what they are working. Is it turning out good? Is it coming along good? What I'm coding, is it looking good? So that is the environment known to them that they'll be checking their work periodically from time to time as they are coding, as they are checking. They'll be looking at what they have done. Developers, so they also execute a type of testing, and that type of test is we call unit testing, right? Unit testing, they check their code to make sure that, okay, this feature is looking good, right? Okay, everything I'm working on, they'll be checking in the development environment. When they are done with their work, when the developers are done with their work, they turn it over to the testing team. Now, testing team also have their own environment. And the testing team is going to be like something like, the testing environment is going to be like www.bankofamerica-test.com. Now, it could be something else, weird URL name, domain name or something, but typically this is how it's going to be something related to test, right? So that's their testing environment. So QA will also pick up the new feature that has been deployed to them, and they will also begin to test to make sure that the feature or the functionality that they have been given or that was in the requirement is exactly what the developers have worked on or they've done, right? So QAs will also test. They also look at the feature. They'll click all the buttons. They'll check all those things, make sure that, this feature, is working. They go to the database. They might check in some queries and data in the database, make sure that the data actually reflects in there. Everything looks good. So when QA is done, they also sign off on it and say everything that we have checked looks good. And then it moves from the testing environment to staging or to UAT. UAT is an abbreviation for user acceptance testing, right? So QA is done testing, it moves up to UAT. So UAT is for pretty much is for internal stakeholders or internal customers. We want our internal customers also to poke around the platform and see that the work that we have done, and they will also provide their sign off. They also give their sign off and say, yes, everything is looking good now. So let's go. So sometimes our internal customers might say, no. This is a complete departure from what we asked you guys to do. But hopefully that does not happen, because if that happens, that means we'll have to, go back and rework on the entire thing again. And that is going to take time. That's going to prolong the delivery of the project. But hopefully, maybe they check it and they say, yes, this is looking good. Can we go live? And then finally, we ship or we do a release to the production environment, which is the external customer-facing portal. So bankofamerica.com. So you go over there and then you see a new feature, you like it, and then you want to do investment. They added a new feature called investment. So you go over there, you click on it, and there are so many investment options, investment types that you can invest your money in. So it is now live. That feature is now live, and you like it. So that is a production website. So what you use at home is typically what we call the production environment, our live environment, right? But all of this environment, the development environment, the testing environment, the staging or UAT environment, production environment, they look very identical. It is only the team members that will be able to tell you that this is different because we don't have this feature yet in production. There might be one feature or something that is very small that they are working on that might not be on the production environment, but it is just in the environment, maybe test environment now or staging environment now. And when they finally release it to maybe production, it will become available or accessible to customers at home, right? But usually all these environments look identical or similar, right? So typically like a dev environment, when you go to that dev URL, like www.bankofamerica-dev.com, you will see something like this. It's not going to look different from the production environment. When you go to the test environment, it's going to look like this. When you go to staging, it's going to look like this. When you go to staging, it's going to look like this. When you go to maybe production environment, it will still look like this. But it is only the team that knows that there's a new feature that is coming, that when we finally release it or deploy it to production environment, it will now look like this, right? But It is going to be the same platform that you see across board. It's going to be the same thing that you see everywhere, right? So that brings us to the end. I know our time is up. Question, I'm just going to leave some 30 seconds. Is there any question, anything before we end today's session? Is there any question? All right. If there are no questions, then we will continue on from here tomorrow.